verses that I'm going to read are going to be somewhat long, but I guarantee you the message is going to be strong. Daniel, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 through 30. I can't say whether or not you know the story now, because we're living in a time and a day and an age in which the church is biblically illiterate, which means that most stories that we have grew up hearing, the average individual and churchgoer don't know it or understand it. Neither have they known that it's in their Bible. And so sometimes we got to go back over some stuff that you have heard before, but you probably haven't heard it the way that I'm going to teach it today. So hold on in your seats. Daniel, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 to 30. Say, if you got it, say, I got it. It says, then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and anger, gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then these men were brought before the king. And Nebuchadnezzar responded and said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you did not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the moment you hear the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, trigon, psaltery, and bagpipe, and all of the kinds of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made very well. But if you do not worship, you will immediately be cast into the midst of a furnace of blazing fire. And what God is there who can deliver you out of my hands? Oh, God. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. We can be silent about what you're about to do to us, because our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." He said, I'll let the delivering power of God speak for me. Verse 19, then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and his facial expression was altered toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he answered by giving orders to heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. He commanded certain valiant warriors who were in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in order to cast them into the furnace of blazing fire. Then these men were tied up in their trousers, their coats, their caps, and their other clothes, and were cast into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire. For this reason, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace had been made extremely hot, the flame of the fire slew those men who carried up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire. Somebody holler out, still tied up. 24, then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astounded and stood up in haste. He said to his high officials, was it not 3 men we cast bound into the midst of the fire? They replied to the king, certainly, O king. He said, look, I see 4 men loosed and walking. I threw them in on their back, tied up, but they're now on their feet, walking around free. Then King Nebuchadnezzar came to the door, and he said, the 4th one looks like the son of the gods. And then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the furnace of blazing fire, and he responded and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, watch, come out. Told him, come out. The fire that I created, I can't even come in and get you. I can't even handle my own fire. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the midst of the fire. The satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's high officials gathered around and saw in regard to these men that the fire had no effect on the bodies of these men, nor was the hair of their head singed, nor were their trousers damaged, nor had the smell of fire even come upon them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who put their trust in him, violating the king's command, and yielded up their bodies." Somebody say, yielded up their bodies. They yielded up their bodies so as not to serve or worship any God except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or tongue that speaks against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses reduced to a rubbish heap, inasmuch as there is no other God who is able to deliver this way. Verse 30, then the king called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to prosper. Many of your Bibles, it says to be promoted in the province of Babylon. I want to talk to you today from the time that I have left. I want to talk to you today from the thought all month long we've been talking about transformative sacrifice. But today I want to talk about purposeful fire. I want you to give 5 people a fist bump. In fact, no, give 7 people a fist bump and let them know what we're talking about today. Tell them purposeful fire. And you can have your seats in the presence of the Lord, and the word of the Lord will commence. Purposeful fire. Purposeful fire. Purposeful fire. Life will always give you an opportunity to make choices. Life demands sacrifices. It literally walks up to you and demands that you will make a sacrifice. Any person under the sound of my voice that has faith in their God, life will walk up to you and demand that you choose. Do you choose life or do you choose God? Culture will try to convince you that it is best for you to submit to their ways, their manners, their thinking, because within the context of culture, there is this thing that causes for us to want to be similar to each other. In other words, don't make waves. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, just relax. Y'all know the song. Y'all looking at me like, do I finish it for him or just relax and let it float? Don't rock the boat. The world is telling you don't say anything, just conform to our ways, conform to our manners, conform to our values. And if you conform to our ways, our manners, and our values, you will never go through a particular fire. You'll never go through trial and tribulation, because if you're doing what the whole world is doing, then the world does not have to worry about you. Therefore, the world's attention will be diverted towards those who will gain attention because they're no longer like the world. It is only people who are willing to be different that gets the world's attention. God. Satan does not have to bother himself with people who he already has. People who will not push back against the darkness, he does not have to bother against or fool with, because typically he already has you and you're not a threat. But it's only when you start speaking up for that which is right. It is only for when you start doing that which is right, in which the enemy tries to make an onslaught or an attack against you, thereby rendering you to shut up your values and your morals, because your values and your morals are bringing to light the things that he is defeated in. And you got to understand that the attack that may come on your life is simply because of the sacrifices that you have made. He wouldn't have mind if you did not make a sacrifice to God. But when you presented your bodies as a living sacrifice to God, holy and acceptable unto him, the Bible would imply that that's when the enemy said, I need to put them in a fire. I need to bring trial and tribulation to them, because in doing so, I will render them useless, and I will try to make them afraid of speaking up for what is right, doing what is right, because now fear is the only thing that I have to keep the people of God quiet. Woo, God. But what happens when he does not have fear anymore? What happens when you're no longer afraid of the consequences that may come to you because you are in the right and you are standing up for the thing that God has called for you to do? What happens when the enemy hurls threats at you, but it does not make you afraid because you know your God, and you know that those that know their God shall wax strong and do great exploits? What happens when Goliath hurls his insults at you and it does not bother you? It does not bring fear to you, because you know the same God that delivered the bear and the lion is the same God that can cause for you to beat this giant. What happens when the devil cannot kill you and stop you with fear? Woo, God. He tries to throw you into something that tries to disrupt your faith. Oh God, he gives ultimatums and threats. And you know when somebody is running out of power and authority because they start giving threats. When I can't get you to do what I want you to do, if I have to start threatening you, I'm running out of options. Bible declares that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not bow to the king's idol. The music played and they would not bow. Oh, God, oh, God. Everybody else was bowing, but they stuck out like a sore thumb. While everybody else was bowing, they were standing. And everybody could see from their stands that they were different. Oh, God, their difference is what got them into this trouble. God. Oh, God, oh, God. I don't know who I'm talking to in here today, but the reason why hounds, hells are after you is because it's your difference. It's your difference that's getting you into trouble. I didn't say your defiance. I said your difference. Oh, God. That's why the enemy has been trying to get you to mimic everybody and everything. That's why the enemy has been trying to persuade you to become a carbon copy of somebody else's stuff, because he knows that it is your difference that is dangerous to the pit of hell. Slap somebody a high five and say, keep on being different. It's your difference. It's your difference that's your power. Your difference is your deference. That means that people will start deferring to you because you are different. It is not that everybody is not doing the same career or doing the same thing that you're doing, but it's with the difference that you do it. You have a different swag to the way that you do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody may be doing the same career but they don't do it like you. It is your difference that makes you anointed. It is your difference that makes you stand out. That's why you can come into the boardroom and everybody else can be talking, but everybody is looking at you while somebody else is talking, because there's something different about you. Look at somebody and say, don't lose your difference. Don't lose your difference. Don't lose your difference. Don't lose your difference. No. The Bible declares that when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came into Babylon, they were different. They were different in their morals. They were different in their values. They were so different that when the king's men tried to get them to eat the same king's meat and drink the king's wine, they said, no, I don't want to eat like you and I want to drink like you because I'm different. Ooh, God. I live up under a different code. I have a different value system. I have a different way of looking at life. You may look at life from that vantage point, but the way that I look at life is different. And that's why I know you don't like me, because you want a pity party and you want me to sink down to your level But I'll never sink down to your level because my difference is my difference. My difference is what makes me unique. I stand up and I stand out, and that's because God has made me different. Every different person under the sound of my voice, open up your mouth and give God praise for your difference. I don't look like everybody else. I may have on the same stuff, but there's something different about my countenance. It wasn't the clothes that they were wearing, it was their countenance. And the Bible says that when they embraced their difference and didn't eat what the king wanted them to eat and didn't drink what everybody else was drinking, the Bible says that their countenance was different. Oh, God, they fared better. They looked better. Everybody was standing at the same height, but everybody didn't have your countenance. That's why when you go through hell and high water, people are looking at your countenance to see is there anything different about you. That's why when you're going through, you need to square your shoulders, hold your head up, and strike your best superhero pose. Oh, y'all didn't, you missed it. 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 It is a stance of power. It is a stance to say, I know I may be going through right now, but I still am under control. Y'all don't hear me. In fact, look at somebody. Strike your best pose. Look at her. Tell them, I may be going through something right now, but you're not going to be able to tell it. Looking at my countenance. Oh, y'all don't hear me today. My countenance says something different. Y'all don't. The devil is confused. I tried to throw everything at them to break down their countenance. Why won't their countenance break down? It's because I'm built by God. And I'm built to last. Y'all don't hear me today. I may bend a little bit, but I will not break. Oh, God, who am I preaching to in here today? Smack somebody a high five and say, I will not break because of this. Devil, I will not lose not 1 ounce of sleep. I will sleep in my trouble. I will rest in my persecution because I know who's got this all under control. Hey, oh God, let me. Oh God. I'm trying to get finished with this, dear God. Oh, God, but there's something about people who have gone through hell and high water that you can't tell that they're going through because they woke up right with their eyes to God. I lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help. All of my help comes from the Lord. So if I walk with my head up, it's not because I'm being arrogant. It's because I'm being worshipful. Oh, woo, God. Woo, God. Hey, God. Oh, God, look at somebody and say, I'm being worshipful. Looking up. See, this is what the enemy wants you to do. The enemy wants you to look at him.
Yes, come on, come on.
But when you look above him,
There you go. Come on, Pastor.
he feels ignored. And when the enemy starts feeling ignored, he starts trying to ramp up everything to try to get your attention. Y'all don't hear me today. But you will not get my attention because you will not get my worship. Y'all, oh God, only God will get my worship. I got to land this plane. Oh God. Walk with me through the mindset and the psychology of these 3 Hebrew boys who are standing in front of King Nebuchadnezzar. They've decided not to bow. They've decided not to bend. And King Nebuchadnezzar hurls a threat at them and says that if you don't bow, I am going to throw you into a fiery furnace. Let me help you to understand the theology of fire. Because you're not just talking to anybody. You're talking to Hebrews. And Hebrews have a theology of fire. See, the theology of fire to Hebrews is that God is a consuming. Deuteronomy 4:24. So if you're going to throw me in the fire, you're just putting me closer to God. Y'all don't hear me today. I've got a theology of fire, King. You are putting me closer to my God. I'm not fearing that because I got a theology of fire. See, the theology of fire says that every time that there is a sacrifice that is acceptable unto God, God consumes it with fire. If he is an all-consuming fire, that means that when he created light, the Bible declares that he created light, he created fire. God is not foreign to fire. He is a fire. The whole earth is being lit up and heated by a ball of y'all don't hear me today. He is fire. He is so fire that when God wanted to introduce himself to Moses, the Bible says that he came down in a burning bush that was being consumed, that was being burnt up by fire, but not consumed by the same fire. So he is not just fire, he's a controlling fire. Fire does not control him. He controls fire. He lives in fire. Y'all don't hear me today. When Isaiah saw angels going back and forth, they were seraphim. These are angels of fire. Y'all don't hear me today. Around his throne, there is fire. Everything that God does is based on fire. All consuming fire. Y'all don't. It's a theology of fire. You're not just talking to anybody. You're talking to Hebrews, and they have a sound theology about fire. Throw me in the fire. I'll just keep on growing. Because if my God is a consuming fire and he created me through the fire of his voice, that means that if you throw me in the fire, I just get better. Slap somebody and say, you're getting better in your fire. 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 The enemy wants you to get bitter, but don't get bitter. Get better in your fire. Your fire helps you. If I were to tell you on last week, I remember we were preaching about Abraham and Isaac, and the Bible says that Abraham was about to offer up his son Isaac, and Isaac said to his father, I know we're about to have a burnt offering opportunity here. Now I see the wood, and I see the knife, but he also said, I see the fire. Oh God, because you can't have a sacrifice without fire. And we can't talk about transformative sacrifices without talking about an implement of sacrifice, which is fire. Oh God, fire is the thing that God uses to say that I accept the sacrifice. So now if the 3 Hebrew boys have now sacrificed their life to God, the only response that God has is to consume their life with fire. And so maybe they understood this principle. But then King Nebuchadnezzar made it worse for him and better for them. Because now when he said, I can throw you in this fire, and if I throw you in this fire, what God is going to get you out of my hand? Wait a minute. If you read the first chapter and the first 2 verses of Daniel, the Bible says that God is the one that gave them over to King Nebuchadnezzar. If I gave it to you, I can also, y'all don't hear me today. In other words, Nebuchadnezzar didn't have as much authority over their life as what he thought he had. And I'm here today to tell somebody the devil does not have that much authority over your, oh yeah. Now, if you say that you're going to go throw me in the fire, always have a theology about fire. If you say that you're going to throw me in water, maybe you may have an argument and I may be a little afraid. But I got a theology for water too. I don't have time to talk to you about the theology of water today. But if you say fire, fire is a little different. And so now the Hebrew boys understands 4 different faces of fire. According to rabbinical tradition and literature, there are 4 faces of fire. One of the faces of fire is that fire, the purpose of fire is to illuminate and protect. Yeah. So that when the children of Israel were going through the wilderness, the Bible says that God says that I will be a pillar of fire. Oh God, by night, I will protect you from the cold. I will protect you from the elements, and I will protect you from every animal, every wild animal that wants to devour your life. What he's saying is because I'm such a fire, I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to illuminate a path to you in dark situations. I am going to cover you with fire. So for some people, fire is destructive. But for these 3 Hebrew boys, they understood that fire is protective. There's a theology of fire. The second face of fire is the issue of fire is cathartic. Somebody holler out cathartic. Now, the word cathartic just simply means that it is a cleansing, that it burns up and burns off anything that God doesn't want to be there. It is cathartic. In other words, it brings healing to you. It heals you from a particular sickness. And the Bible says that when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were trying to be thrown in, they were bound up. The Bible says that they were bound up and they were strapped up. And as they were strapped up and bound up, they were picked up. They were bound up, they were strapped up, and they were picked up. They were bound up, they were strapped up, and they were picked up. They were bound up, they were strapped up, and they were picked up. They had no choice of where they could go because the enemy had bound them up, strapped them up, and picked them up. But that's not how they were created. And so the closer they got to the fire, the more that the ones that picked them up died off, because the fire was cathartic. Now, see, you're concerned about your fire when your enemy should be concerned about the fire. Watch, because your enemy can handle the fire. I would imagine that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is listening to King Nebuchadnezzar say that you're going to throw me in the furnace. And if you would have just thrown me in an ordinary furnace, you probably would have had just an element of fear in me. But you did something that was crazy. You said, I don't want to throw you in an ordinary furnace. He said, I want you to heat up the furnace 7 times hotter. Now, I would imagine that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego started to look at each other, saying, he don't even know what he's doing. If you would have heated up 1 time, that probably would have been a problem. But when you heated it up 7 times, we know that 7 is the number of completion. Y'all don't hear me today. So the thing that's going to complete me is going to kill you. Y'all don't hear me today. Okay, let me help. Oh God, what you threw me in is about to complete me and perfect me, but it's going to kill you. So every enemy that's been trying to throw you into a fire, take a good look at them, because this is the last time you, oh God, who am I preaching to in here today? The devil increased it 7 times harder. Now their enemy can't carry them anymore. Now they got to fall into it. And when they fall into it, the fire started burning up everything that was not supposed to be on them. Woo, God. Because he's a controlling fire. He started burning up everything that is not supposed to be on them. So the stuff that had them bound burned up. But the hands were not burned up. Y'all don't hear me that. The straight jackets that they had on were burned up. but their clothes were not burned up. In other words, God is so God that he controls what is burnt off you when you are in your fire. So anything that falls off of you, friends, relationships, situations, in your fire, if they fall off, let them go. Y'all don't hear me today. They didn't belong. Y'all don't. Slap somebody a high five and say they didn't belong. 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 And it took a fire to help you to see. God. Have you ever had people to talk about you when you're in your fire? Have you ever had people to try and say extra stuff and you didn't even know that that's the way they felt about you? It's because fire always brings negative stuff to the surface. Y'all don't hear me today. And it's got to come to the surface so that you can clean it up. How are you going to know what to clean it up without a fire? I got to go. I got to go. The Bible says, as they're thrown in, here's the third face. The third face of fire is that it humbles your enemy. Oh, God. Now, it took humility for you to get to the fire, but it humbles your enemy. Fire is a humbling element. That's why the Bible says that when Moses spoke from the fire, or when God spoke from the fire to Moses, he said, take off your shoes because the ground that you're on is holy. What made it holy was the fire. Wait a minute, Lord, if I take off my shoes and your fire is burning up the ground, won't my feet burn up? He said, now your feet is not going to burn up as long as you submit. If I find you submitting, then the thing that is supposed to kill you won't kill you, but it will complete you. If I find you bending to the will of the fire, then the thing that was supposed to end you will only promote you. If I find you submitting to the fire and not fighting, because now these 3 Hebrew boys didn't fight to be bound up, and they didn't fight to get in the fire, and they were not fighting while they were in the fire. The Bible didn't say that they were fighting. The Bible said that they were walking. And you got to learn how to walk and not fight when you're in your fire. If the enemy is trying to get you to talk, tell the enemy to shut up. Just keep on walking and don't say a word, because now you walking in the fire is saying all that you need to say. Sometimes you got to let your actions speak louder than your words. Sometimes you got to let your worship do all the talking, and let God do all the talking, and let the blessings of God do all the talking. You don't have to say nothing to your enemy. You don't have to detract nothing. All you got to do is be silent and keep walking. And you'll fire. And you'll fire. But then he says this. Because the same king that wanted to kill him is not the same king that's calling him out the fire. Wait a minute. And the reason why I need to call you out is because I can't go in and get you. Oh God, you can't pull me out. But when I'm ready to come out, I'm coming out of it different from when I went in. Y'all don't hear me today. Look at somebody and say, I'm coming out of this different from what I was when I went in. You're going to come out different. Y'all don't hear me today. You're going to come out changed. You're going to come out free. You're going to come out delivered. You're going to come out with a different kind of countenance. You're going to come out with a tan. Because while the enemy was dying in your fire, you were glistening in your fire. You were saying, tan me up. This fire is about to make me look good. Who am I talking to in here today? Look at somebody and say, you look good in your fire. Look at somebody else on the other side and say, neighbor, when you come out of this, you gonna look real good. The enemy is gonna want to know, how did you look so? Oh God, y'all don't hear me today. I got younger in my I got younger in my fire. I was supposed to get old because of the stress, but I got younger walking in this thing. I got stronger walking in this thing. The Bible says that even the young man shall fall, that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Look at somebody and say, you're going to walk in this fire and you're going to get stronger, better, wiser. Oh God, who am I talking to in here today? You're going to get stronger, better, wiser. God is going to take you from this area to a whole nother area because of this fire. I got to go. I give you one more.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
The last face that the Hebrews have of this fire is that it creates reverence. When I'm reading this text, what made me almost start shouting immediately is that when they came out of the fire, the people that set the trap all gathered around to look at them because they couldn't believe that the trap that they set didn't kill them. Oh God. And King Nebuchadnezzar, who was tricked by the traps of the people that were around him, said, I'm going to make another decree. Anybody that talks about their God, you will be killed. And so will your household be killed. Because no God can deliver like this God. God. That means that even their enemies had to worship. If you understand this principle, then you'll understand the reason why you'll never see somebody else who defies the king get thrown in a fire. Daniel never went to a furnace because the king understood. Last time I put these Hebrew boys in fire. Oh, I'm trying to help. Oh, God, I want you to get this today. The last time I put these Hebrews in fire, they thrived. So he told Daniel, you're not going to a fire. I'm going to have to put you in the lion's den. And then God became the God of lions. Y'all don't hear me today. Oh, God, who am I preaching to? This is my God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, you may go through it, but what you go through will not kill you because your God has got you. Now give him praise. Worship him. Praise him. Open up your mouth and give your God glory. He shuts the mouths of lions. He pushes back the power of fire. He is God like that. No. Give him 30 more seconds. Come on. Open up your mouth. No. Open up your people who have been going through. I dare you. Open up your mouth and give God a sacrifice. No, get loud and I don't know what hell you've been going through, but God says, open up your mouth. Look to the hills. There's purpose in this fire. 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 If there's purpose in the fire, there should be a praise in the fire. Because your praise tells the devil, there's purpose in this thing. Look at somebody and say, there's purpose in this. I gotta go. Everyone standing on your feet. I gotta go. Woo, go. Listen. Listen. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm about to pray for you. If you leave now, you're gonna miss a powerful revelation I'm about to give you right now. Listen. The last verse says that after these boys came out of the fire, they came out so famously. They came out of it so miraculously that King Nebuchadnezzar had to promote them. Because anybody that can go through that kind of fire and walk out of it, I need to put them on my team. Oh, y'all don't hear me today. I need to increase what they've been doing. I need to give them a promotion. And I don't know who I'm talking to in here today, but I came to tell you the last principle of this particular text, and this is it. And if you get it, we can all go up in smoke. Your promotion is coming after your fire. Expect it. Expect your promotion. Expect your promotion. Expect your promotion. You handled it like a champ. Expect your increase. Expect it. Expect it. Look for it. Look for it. It's gonna happen. Look for it. Look for it. Oh, God. Now I know everybody can't shout about that. Because some of y'all have been and bowed and broke down and got discouraged and all that stuff in your fire. So you didn't come out of it the way that you were supposed to come out of it. But some of us went through hell and still didn't bow. Oh, God went through it and still didn't give up. This is for everybody that didn't give up when you went through hell in your marriage and you didn't give up. When you went through hell with your kids and didn't give up. When you went through hell in your finances and didn't give up. When you went through hell on your job and didn't give up. This is for everybody that went through hell and still did not. Come on, give them 30 seconds. Everybody that didn't give up. You went through it, but you didn't give up. You went through it. You didn't give up. You didn't give up on your business. You didn't give up on your entrepreneurial pursuit. You didn't give up. You didn't give up. You didn't give up. Everyone stretch your hands up for the Father. I need to pray for you. Oh, God. I feel promotion in the room. I said I feel promotion in the room. I feel promotion in the room. I feel promotion in the room. Hey, God, your increase is coming. This is your season. You went through it like a champ, and you didn't give up. God says promotion is coming. It's coming. It's coming. Father, in the name of Jesus, there are people under the sound of my voice that thought about giving up while they were in the fire. This message is making them change their minds. Woo, God. I pray for them now, that they would be encouraged while they're going through their fire. Lord, I pray, Father, that you would make them fire certified. Initiate them into their destiny. Promote them into their promise. Move them, Father, from fire to promotion. In Jesus' name, every person that has been going through it longer and they're still not bowing, not giving up, not throwing in the towel, I pray right now in the name of Jesus that you would come right now to them right now, and that you would consume them, that you would consume their sacrifice, that you would consume their minds and their thoughts, and that everything, oh God, that you want to do in their life, their sacrifice now says yes to you. So I decree and declare promotion on your people. Promotion, increase, prosperity on your people right now. In the areas in which they have been in fire the most, I decree and declare right now, oh God, promotion, 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 breakthrough, 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 breakthrough.